Are you good, Ace? Can you hear me? I'm gonna fluff your watermelon one more time.
There you go, Daddy.
One more time. I'm just gonna do that whenever I feel like I need a little comfort.
Cool.
You good? You good? All right.
We're good.
Welcome to the Stocks and Sandals podcast, guys. Super excited for this episode. We've obviously got Ace with us, as always. Well, he's with us in spirit, and whatever this is, we just kind of make do. We just kind of make do with what we can do right now until Ace finds a way to get back in the States, and but he's here. He's warm. He's cozy. We got a watermelon for him. And we also are excited to welcome Fuzz. So a lot of you guys may not know Fuzz at all if you're not in the Stock Dads Discord. If you are, you know Fuzz. Fuzz is also Brian Farr. Fuzz is his obviously a nickname. So we're going to talk about that. But welcome to the podcast.
Good to be here. Yeah.
Very excited. I even made the little YouTube thumbnail. It says like Fuzz is probably the best trader you've never heard of. And for us, we're going to be talking a little bit more and getting to know Fuzz, because Fuzz is actually the OG Grill Master exclusive analyst for Stock Dads. He's the very first ever analyst that we brought on exclusively. And that's probably why most of you have never heard of him, because he's been exclusive since day one. He's not like Ace or Amar or Duke or some of these traders that have been in Discord servers kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
He's been a day one, homie, and we've kind of kept him under wraps and stuff, and he's just been adding a ton of value to the Stock Dads Discord for years. So very excited to share you with the world, Fuzz.
Thank you, man.
What a lot of people actually don't know is that Fuzz and I went to middle school together. Did you even know that?
And same with me.
Yeah, sure.
I was at that middle school.
Oh, yeah, you were that
were,
kid that
yeah,
we picked on and stuff.
Yeah.
No, actually, you probably picked on us. You were the cool kid. But no, yeah, me and Fuzz actually went to middle school together in West Georgia. So West Georgia Christian Academy, and played basketball together. You wouldn't know it looking at either of us, but we were stud basketball. No, I'm just kidding. I was terrible.
I was a starter.
He started, I didn't, and now I could whoop his butt in basketball because I grew and he didn't. No, I'm just kidding.
True. I stayed the same height.
You did. You were great. You were a point guard and stuff, and I was a little short stuff and fat and couldn't run, and all that kind of fun stuff. Still fat, but I actually got tall. So
Yeah, you got taller.
I got a little bit better as I got older in at basketball, but
Just some weaker knees.
it was exactly weaker knees for sure. Ace, we're gonna have to get you a one-on-one with Fuzz now.
He did whoop up on
I know.
like 2 high schoolers in Chicago
Yeah.
2 years ago, which
Oh
was
yeah.
entertaining.
Yeah, that was fun. We had our annual strategic planning summit, and this was before Ace was on the Stock Dads team, but we went to we brought the whole team in from across country. We went to Chicago.
Yeah.
We got a
That was a lot of
little
fun.
conference room in the Chicago hotel, and there was a a basketball team that was there, and some kids were out on the court playing, and I went out schooled them
Schooled
old
them.
man
It was
style and
hysterical.
stuff. And it's fun. But yeah, so if you guys notice, we have a little chessboard here. So one of Fuzz's passions outside of trading is chess.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let him tell us a little bit more about that. But while we do this episode, I kind of thought it'd be fun for Fuzz to whoop my ass in chess for you guys all to watch. And, so we're going to just kind of slowly play a game and see how it goes, see how quickly he can beat me. And, we'll kind of go from there. So, I believe white starts.
Oh, white always goes first.
This is going to be ugly, guys. So tell us about your passion for chess and kind of how it relates to trading.
Well, my dad taught me originally when I was a little kid. I still play it. There's so many aspects to chess that you can use within not just trading but also in life, and it's just been a major player in my journey throughout the years. So I couldn't stop playing. Even if I tried, I'd always come back to it.
Right. Ace, do you play chess?
I know how to play chess. Am I good at chess? Absolutely not. Fuzz, you actually play competitively, is that correct?
Yeah, I do play competitively. I haven't been to a tournament in a year, but I'm starting to get back into tournament shape, which involves a lot of getting back into theory and really just training your vision with tactics and puzzles and just basically it's like training for uh, weightlifting competitions like I know you do. It's the exact same thing. You're trying to exercise and get back into shape. A game can last you up to 7 hours, so you have to be able to grind to really grind it out.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Jeez.
insane.
Yeah. That's like, so first of all, I think that has a lot of parallels to trading. It seems like you already kind of mentioned, and patience being the biggest one of them. What I've noticed a lot of times with new traders and myself, I struggle with this as I learn and kind of go through the trading journey and stuff. It's you know that lack of patience, always wanting to be in a play, like always feeling like if I'm not in an active trade, like I'm doing something wrong. So kind of talk a little bit about that, and how, again, like as a trader and as a chess player, sometimes it's best to just wait and see kind of what happens.
We always say you don't always have to be in a position. Cash is king always. If you're not feeling it, wait a minute. Wait a moment before something else comes up. In chess, there's actually a move for that. It's just being prophylactic. If you're waiting for your opponent to make a mistake, or if you're just needing a little bit more edge out of that position, out of that spot. So there's nothing wrong with just sitting on your hands to see what happens next. And sometimes you just need to sit on your hands, wait for the right moment to play your edge and your setup and go from there. So
Yeah, that's that sounds pretty parallel, like to
Yeah,
trading.
it's definitely parallel with trading, that's for sure. Exactly like what you said, right? With in terms of waiting for that move to actually happen, waiting for the conviction in a play to actually happen and play it out. So lots of parallels there. I can definitely see where your passions in terms of trading come in, especially how it correlates to chess. So that's cool.
yeah, and the beauty of it, like what I do both in trading is very I take a very analytical approach. Sometimes it's tedious. People might even argue it's too tedious, but uh, it's what I like. It's what I enjoy. I love the analytical side, the analytical approach to trading and in chess. So it suits me. So that's what I like about it.
So you've been trading for a long time. You've been playing chess for a long time. Tell us about how you got your start with trading in general.
So when I was kind of introduced to the market through my uncle, I used to spend a lot of my summers hanging out with my grandparents and my uncle, and he would occasionally have his brokerage account open, and he would always have shares of like Coke or UPS, usually some like the dividend names, and that's how he would put his money to work. Um, and that kind of got me interested in the markets at a younger age. But I didn't really dabble into it too much because I didn't have a job. I didn't have an allowance, so I was just like, I'm just a kid. What can I do anyway?
Mm-hmm.
But when I first started getting my first job, I started putting money away, and and then that's when I opened up a brokerage account and went from there. It went from penny stocks, and then I learned options with Ford. I started learning options with Ford, something really boring, and this is something I teach: learn options through something cheap and silly, slow moving, so you can get a hang of it. So Ford was my introduction to options, and there it just grew and grew.
Yeah. Ace, you got started in with penny stocks too, didn't you?
So when I first started on Discord, I was actually an exclusive penny stock analyst for another company, but I originally started off with Forex. back in high school.
So what was your like first penny stock or like the biggest one that you ever traded?
Uh, Few names that come to head would be like NAK, NAK. There's Boxel,
Knack,
Boxlight,
yes.
BOXL. Yeah, so there's a lot of few names out there that just ring a bell as soon as
That's
Fuzz had
Northern
brought that up.
Dynasties, right? Knack, or is that another? I
I
think
have
it's
no
like
clue. I
I think
just
it's
remember the
Northern
ticker
Dynasties
name.
because I'm the only reason I know that is because I'm pretty sure that's the first stock I ever bought
Yeah, Knack
was
and
Knack. Yeah, NAK. If I'm not
Ship.
mistaken. Yeah.
Ship is a popular one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my
That was
God.
one of the
Yeah,
first stocks I ever bought. What's the first stock you ever bought? Do you guys remember?
mine was Facebook.
Mine was
Yours is Facebook.
Ford, surprisingly. So Ford, Coke, uh, some of the mid cap names. I didn't really get into mega cap until much later when I wised up a little bit. The smarter names are the better names. Who would have thunk?
I'm getting smoked here already, I'm sure. I'm not good at chess, so it's even harder when I'm trying to have a conversation at the same time. So it's just kind of a matter of time before this all goes downhill. So Fuzz, let's talk about kind of how you got started with Stock Dads. Obviously, I started the Stock Dads Facebook group, again, when I was just trying to learn and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, since we went to middle school together, and I was sharing it, and you saw it, and I didn't even know that you were a trader at that point, that you had done anything with it. But obviously we got you into the group, and you turned out to be a super helpful member. And this was before like Stock Dads was actually a company or anything, and you were already in there teaching and sharing your wisdom and knowledge. And then that's kind of how a big part of how we ended up monetizing and turning Stock Dads into a business was basically creating the community, bringing you and then other professionals in that had done this for a while to bring that value, to bring that education and stuff like that. So if you guys are a fan of Stock Dads and have ever been in our group, you know how impactful Fuzz is. We always talk like, Ace gets a lot of the glory on social media and stuff, and he's obviously an amazing part, but Fuzz is also a huge part of Stock Dads that gets often underappreciated, underrated, because nobody really knows about you yet. But we're gonna try and change that. We're gonna get you on social media a little bit more, and but yeah, I think you got a big fan group in the Discord for sure.
I didn't even know who Fuzz was before I started into Stock Stats. They had warned me prior, so I was huge on voice channel. I like to be very active in terms of sharing my charts, showing my analysis as the plays are actually happening. And they had said there was a guy already in there who does daily voice channel and live streaming. And I'm like, who's this Fuzz character? I jumped in and I fell in love with Fuzz immediately. His analysis just matched very, very well in terms of mine. It gave a very good balance between the two, from looking on a more aggressive side, where we are playing a lot further out of the monies with very short expirations, to Fuzz's strategy where we're being a little bit more conservative, taking risk off the table and allowing ourselves again to be a little bit more analytical. So it just worked out very perfectly, and our strategies worked kind of harmoniously. I thought so. So when we got split up, I was kind of sad, but I guess we'll talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, okay. So what Ace is referring to is we actually have two different voice channels in Stock Dads now, and we kind of split it up based on the type of trading. I think Ace and Fuzz again had an awesome yin and yang and like worked really well together, but the type of trading is different, right? So Ace is, like he mentioned, shorter, expirations, a little more volatile, kind of, higher risk, higher reward. Whereas you're a little more methodical approach. It's, further expirations, a little more conservative, less risk, still good reward, but not necessarily the huge gainers, but also, you lose less too. So,
Right,
or at least a less percentage, when you lose. So, we ended up splitting those voice channels up because we kind of had, we wanted to give people the option to go one way or the other. So that's just kind of what we did. It did kind of suck to have to split you guys up because I thought you guys worked really well together, but I do think it's the best for the members to kind of have that like degen voice channel with Ace, where it's like, let's go in and
Whoa.
we're gonna go crazy. We're gonna like, it's high energy, high octane.
Yeah,
It's like fast. And then and then the other voice channel, it's you and Lady Leverage, and it's a lot more like mellow and maybe professional. um,
well,
but it's just as much. It's you guys have a lot of fun.
do you want to go on a go-kart ride or do you want to go on a golf cart ride?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, like DJ said, my style is conservative. Even for options. Yes, I do day trades. I'll hop in some SPX, 0 DTEs. I have no problem doing that. But it's less Wild West is probably a good way to put it. Well, no, which is fine. Everybody has their style in place. And live trading is fun. Me and Lady Leverage have our moments where we get wild, but it's fun. I love trading with Ace, whether he has his own trading chat or whatever's going on. It's fun. It's part of a team, and we all have the same goals to help others, be a mentor, do our jobs, get wins, get paid, whatever it is. Our goal is to help others build generational wealth and be that role model.
Yeah. More than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
I
there's
actually have
nothing wrong
a
with
question that kind of goes off of that, and it's for both of you. Because I kind of want to hear both of your viewpoints on this. But Ace, I'll start with you. Like, as you do things like live chat trading, and you run the small account challenges, and you're hosting your first mastermind and stuff like that, you've got a lot of people that are looking up to you and learning from you and relying on you. Like, that's got to be a lot of pressure, to have, that type of, I guess, following, and the people that do look up to you. And when you, maybe have an off day, or if you, like even today, for example, like you had an off day on the small account challenge, right? So how does that pressure weigh on you? Like, how do you continue to, stay true to your trading styles and not bend to, to meet what the masses might want from you, or whatever? And like, I guess just what's that look like?
I think at the end of the day, I always constantly have to remind myself. I don't even have to at this point because now it's ingrained. But in the past, what I would have to do is constantly tell myself, like, am I doing my part in my position? Am I helping people in terms of the masses with what I'm doing myself? Because I am not a financial advisor. I do not offer financial advice. Whatever everyone else is doing, they're executing on their own behalf, right? They're using, whether if it's my trade ideas and analyzing it themselves to see whether or not it's an idea that they like or whether they don't like. But at the end of the day, they're all executing their own trades. I'm personally showing what I did. So if everyone is losing money as a whole off of a trade idea, guess what? I am too, right? So why am I going to feel bad about myself losing money and everyone losing money when ultimately it's the same goal at the end of the day, like Fuzz said. The goal is to grow, right? Whether if it's making money, helping people out, learning day by day. Losses, that's a lesson. That's a win at the end of the day if I'm able to grab something off of that. What did I see that invalidated? How can I analyze this accordingly to make this a win now, right? They're all lessons at the end of the day. So if we can decipher what these lessons are off of these losses, then that's a win, right? So to me, it's not about what the masses want in terms of, obviously we want to win at the end of the day. And I know that my strategy can provide wins. However, losses are inevitable within this space. So if you're not able to eat a loss, that goes to show in terms of your psychology, right? So that's kind of my whole thing in terms of that.
Yeah. Fuzz, and I know in the beginning, early days with Stock Dads, like when you first started, sending out, your ideas and started serving in that mentor role to people, it was harder on you, I think. And then I think now you've kind of come to terms with it, and you have your kind of your process. But talk about how that's evolved over time and what that looks like for you as well.
Yeah, when we first started going, and I was the main analyst. Stock Shaman was also a part of it. Anytime we would have bad days, even bad weeks, it just kind of, you would feel, because I hate losing more than anything. So for me to lose is one thing, but to see others lose, I just have a passion for everybody too, like everybody else, and I don't want to see them have a hard time or beat themselves up over something that I may have called out and it just didn't work out. Nowadays, I've come to grips, like Ace said, they're clicking the buttons, they're doing what they need to do. Like I have my stuff, I send out what I'm getting into. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. That's part of trading. I can follow my trading plan to a T, and I could view my analysis as entry points, and I will still, no matter what happens, something can go wrong, and you have to be willing to accept that. And newer traders, and even sometimes veterans, they don't come to grips with that you're not always going to be right, and you have to be okay with that. Ace has recommended Mark Douglas. I've always recommended Mark Douglas as well. You have to be to the point where you set your trade, you respect your levels, it hits or it doesn't hit. When you put your money to work, you have to be comfortable with the outcome no matter what. And, that's something that has grown on me tremendously over the past few years, is you can't control the market no matter what happens. If the trade works out, great. If it doesn't, there's always another opportunity, and you move on. Don't wallow in misery just because you weren't right.
Mm-hmm.
Be humble, and everything's going to be
okay. Yeah, for sure. Speaking of like humility, you're probably the humblest guy I know, especially as a full-time trader. You're killing it. I'm kind of interested to know what life has been like for you since, becoming a full-time trader. Also, P.S. guys, I didn't even know he had taken 2 of my pieces, so I just looked over and I was like, oh, pieces are getting taken. This is really hard to focus on both of these things at the same time, so I'm doing much worse.
I think you're just driving an excuse.
I'm not a good chess player, but I truly think I'd be doing better than this right now if I was actually paying full attention. But it's all good. It's still fun. But kind of talk about how that transition's been for you from, going from, working full time, at your old job into transitioning into full time trading. How's your wife feel about that? Like, would you guys what's your lifestyle changes been? Have you, enjoyed the benefits of it? Kind of talk through that.
One of the key things is definitely the freedom. You get more time on your hands for sure, as opposed to working the 9 to 5. Granted, I still put in the hours. I still have evenings where I'm just looking at charts. I'm doing prep. I'm doing DMs and all that kind of stuff. So the time is kind of all over the place, I guess, but you're still working. I mean, day trading and trading in general is a job, and you have to treat it as a job. You have to treat it as a business. You have to be so meticulous about what you're doing because you have to succeed. And if it doesn't work out, then you got to go back to the day job, which you don't want. You need a backup plan, of course, if trading doesn't work out. If as one of the trading as opposed to working the 9 to 5 standard job, or wherever you're at in life, one of the big things is definitely the mental changes. Like when I was working at the 9 to 5, I had really bad anxiety. I had panic attacks. One happened at work, and it was so bad that, I had to go to, I didn't go to the ER, but it was the alternative ER or whatever, which was scary enough because, and your heart's going crazy and it was bad. To where my coworkers were even like really concerned about me. So that was like the turning point. Like, it's like, okay, I gotta figure something out. And then I got put on medicine, which I hated that medicine. I'm off of it now, thankfully.
Good for you.
Yeah, but we moved away from there. We moved closer to family. We're out in the woods. We hear coyotes and we got deer. We got all sorts of stuff. So sure, that's nice, but we're more involved with family now, which is nice. So there's benefits for sure, but you have to work on it. It's not something.
Your life doesn't just magically
Yeah, it
become
doesn't, like,
easy
oh,
and like
yay.
like I don't have to do anything anymore. It's still
Right. No,
yeah.
you still got to work. You still got to grind. It's still your job. It's still your
Right.
business.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, equating trading to a business.
Check.
Oh boy, that's not good. I'm gonna check already. I think equating trading to a business really resonates with me because I run a business. Like, that's what I do. As an entrepreneur. So seeing kind of the parallels behind how serious I have to take this business for it to succeed, and also for it to not, and it to continue to succeed. Like,
Yeah.
it's easy. Like, anybody can do things well for short periods of time.
Yeah.
Anybody can do something for a month, or even 6 months or a year, but like, to sustain something long term, it takes continued effort, continued evolving growth, learning new things, testing things, trial and error, failure, to continue to grow and to be able to sustain that long term. Has that been your experience, Ace?
You guys gotta treat it like it's work, like it's business, right? Like, if you're giving yourself that opposite route where you're like, this is just a hobby, guess what? If you don't see and believe in yourself, you're gonna see opportunities, right? If you do believe in yourself. If you don't, you're gonna see obstacles. So whenever people are saying, oh, you know what, like, this is just a hobby, this is money I can afford to lose, you're probably gonna lose it now because you've already put it into the air. You've manifested the fact that you're probably gonna lose this money. That's like jumping into a casino and saying, I have $200 to spend inside of here. You know that you're probably not going to make a profit. It's the same thing when you're dealing with the stock market. Do you have a plan? Are you going to execute it? And now you're relating it to a job, right? Like we said, treat it like a job, treat it like a business. What is your job today? What is your job description? What are you going to execute day in and day out flawlessly, right? And that's why everyone, and we recommend it all the time. I hear Fuzz saying it, I hear myself saying it. Have a trading plan.
Yeah.
That is your job description at the end of the day. Always relay back to it, refer to it, treat it like it's a Bible, and you will succeed.
Right. Yeah, I mean, anybody that, like, sees these companies that you trade, Apple and Costco and, Facebook and all, like, they all have business plans, and they have a very, regimented way of doing things. So, it's really no different for a trader. So.
Right. And one of the things too, like, when we do our business meetings, we have our overall yearly goal, but we break things up into quarterly goals. And, I want people to challenge themselves to have those quarterly goals and those yearly goals, reach for the stars and try to reach them. Yeah. And that's how businesses run their business models, and that's the way you should learn to pick up a business book, start reading it, and translate that over into trading. And if you don't have it written down, start writing it down, because it makes a world of a difference to have it written down in pen and paper.
So one of the big things that I've heard you say, time and time and time again, Fuzz, and this is one of your biggest, like, I feel like, mantras that you live by when you're helping new traders, is to not focus on a dollar gain or like a monetary goal, or even like percentage gains. Like, don't make it like, okay, I'm gonna make $100 a day, or I'm gonna work until I have $10,000 in my account, or $100,000, and then I'm gonna quit full time. So, but you always talk about how your goal should just be to continue down that process, that continued growth. So kind of talk about that.
Yeah, so you focus on the process is what we say, focus on what gets you in a trade. What are the tools that you use? What is your mental state like? Even on a daily basis, did you wake up tired? Did you have a fight with your wife the prior night? Do you have a big bill coming up that you're nervous about or that you're frustrated about that you got to pay up? Any little small triggers, be aware of what's going on in your mindset. But focus on the process. What's going on in the market? Where are your indicators? What are they telling you? Really be zoned in on what you're doing. Be meticulous. If you got into a trade and it worked out great, that could be your A plus setup. Were you playing a bull flag? Were you playing a wedge breakout? Were you playing support resistance and you had an all time high breakout like Nvidia did recently? Did that go picture perfect for you? That's your A plus setup. Use that as an example of your next trade. So if your next trade doesn't look as good as that prior one, why are you getting into the trade? If it's, if there's something off with it, or you got in and something didn't work out right, maybe you missed that the RSI was diverging and you didn't notice it. Maybe that's just something, maybe you just missed that finer detail and you need to make note of it. Like, hey, just double check that there's not any divergences going on. Maybe I missed something there. Or maybe, fibs, whatever you use as your tool set, is it the way you wanted it to be? And if not, just pay more attention to it on the next.
Tinkering it, keep improving.
You don't have to change the way you trade. You don't be bar hopping from one system to another system. Otherwise, you're not going to learn. You're not going to grow. You're not going to develop. You need to give your system time. You need a data set to work with to actually know if your style is actually working or it's not, or if it's not, fitting. At least have a quarterly set of data for you if you want to try something else. But focus on the process, your mental state, whatever the market is doing from a bigger perspective. Maybe you got into a long when the market was saying, not so fast. We're either chopping or we're going the opposite way. Maybe you hopped in a short and the opposite thing happened and you're like, oh, duh, the market wanted to go up and I was trying to go down,
Right.
Be aware of the tide.
Right. Hey, so how do you feel about that? Does that kind of align with your viewpoints on, future goals and like what you should be kind of targeting?
Yes, it definitely aligns with me. One of the things that I would just love to piggyback off of was the fact that you said, have your end goal and break that into quarters.
Yeah.
Right? The number one issue that I'll find with a lot of newer traders and just traders in general is they'll have very short-term mindsets, meaning a singular day or a singular loss beats them up and they react very emotionally. That shouldn't be the case at all. If you know that your long-term outlook is still positive and you're building those stepping stones day in and day out to constantly keep growing, one singular day should not affect the total outcome. So why are you being emotional right now when you know that the overall process you're happy about? It's all part of the game. We know that losses are inevitable. So as long as you can break that down into a longer term outlook, right? Know your end goal, break those into quarters, like Fuzz said, and then you'll get a big picture.
Yeah, I think one thing that I've noticed is kind of almost a mixture of, you said that some people have like too short of a mind frame or mindset, and then there's others where they have too long of a mind frame, or both, or some people have both. Like, some people's goal is, I want to be a full-time trader, or I want to be a millionaire, or whatever. And then, or they're, again, like you just said, they're focused on every day in one trade and it wrecks them, right? I think there's got to be a middle ground where, okay, I want to be a millionaire or I want to be a full-time trader. That's a great goal to have, but how are you going to get there? You know what I mean? What are the small tangible steps that you're going to take? But you can't get so granular that one single trade, messes with your mentality. So I equate it to me as a business owner, you know, I have certain goals that I want to, we have a 5-year vision. Like we worked on it together in our, you know, last strategic planning meeting where we got everybody in person and we brainstormed like, what do we want Stock Dads to look like in 5 years? And it's a big, hairy, audacious goal, you know, BHAG, whatever, right? I mean, like these are goals that like we want to reach, and that's awesome. But if that was where we stopped, then it's never going to happen, right? Yeah. But then what we do is we take that and we break it down into annual goals. So what are we going to achieve this year, okay, to get towards that 5-year goal? And not only what are we going to achieve this year, but then we break it down quarterly.
Yep.
What are we going to achieve quarterly to get to our annual goal, which gets us to our 5-year goal? And then on top of that, we break it down monthly. And then like, what are the things that each of us are doing day in and day out? We have a vision. You know, I almost think that traders, you know, like their trading plan should almost include that 5-year vision and have it be exactly like a business plan where, you know, again, how we operate Stock Dads is it's that traction system. And if you guys haven't read it, it's called Rocket Fuel. Basically, it's the traction system, and it's a business management tool. And it's essentially, it's like, okay, it's kind of that whole symbolism of, all right, if you have, you know, a bowl of rocks and a bowl of water and a bowl of sand, and you have a vase, okay? If you take the sand and put it in the vase first, which is the really small, minuscule, granular stuff,
right.
Then you put the rocks in, and then you fill it with water, it's going to overflow. It doesn't all fit, right. Okay? But if you take the vase and you put the big stuff in first, so the rocks in first, right? Your 5-year vision, your annual goal, whatever. Then you take the sand, which is maybe your quarterly goals or whatever, your annual goals, smaller, but not liquid, you know?
Right.
Which is the day-to-day stuff, and you put that in next. It fills in all those spaces, right?
Yep.
You know, all the spaces in between the rocks. Then you take the water, which is that liquid. It's that stuff that it's fluid, right? That means it changes every single day. You know, like what you need to focus on, you know, today may be different tomorrow, but it's all working towards it. And then you put the water in. Well, if you put the rocks, then the sand, then the water, it all fills and it fits. It doesn't overflow.
Yep.
But so it's kind of that order of thinking, and I think that, you know, business owners and traders can relate to that. And if traders go at it from a business perspective, which is, okay, I'm going to set this 5-year goal, then I'm going to set it down or break it down into smaller, you know, chunks, and then then you get granular with it. Then you've got kind of that tangible plan of action to get yourself where you want to be.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's just kind of, I guess, how I'm trying to relate it to myself, because learning trading is hard, and I've you know, tried and failed, you know, a few times, but I've never given it that time, right? I've tried for a week or a month, and then I'm like, man, I get too busy with something else, and I kind of just give up on it. So, you know, that's why I'm going through Aces Mastermind, which just started, you know, and I'm super excited. I'm gonna actually make myself learn, and we're gonna kind of track that process. But I already know, you know, now that I have to treat it like Stock Dads, like I treat my business. So.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be easy. You know, you always want to, like what we've said before, you want to challenge yourself and set crazy, maybe outlandish goals, but have those stepping stones to keep you there. And that doesn't mean you're not going to have setbacks. I mean, be realistic. Even I have my bad trades. I have setbacks. Stuff happens. So.
Oh gosh, no.
No, you can't take back.
All right, whatever. I'm screwed anyways. I just gave him my queen. That's all right.
He did.
Okay, well, it's all right. We're gonna be. I'm just ending misery sooner. So. Oof. Well played, DJ.
Yeah, the rules of chess are, you know, if you touch a piece, you have to move it, and if you let go, that's it.
It's over. Got it.
Wherever you put it, that's where she's at.
I got it. Well, so let's go back to this chess stuff.
Uh-huh.
All right, you know how you learn chess at a young age, and you've played and stuff. I guess how would you compare yourself? Like, which piece on the board, you know, would you say best represents you as a trader? You know, like the queen that can, you know, whatever. Which one best represents you?
You know, we kind of touched on this at some point, not on this podcast, but originally I was going with the knight, and the reason why the knight is because you can hop, you can move in funny L shapes, and you can move with the market. And then I got to thinking, well, maybe I'm more like the bishop, because the bishop stays on its color. It starts out as a dark squared
Whoa,
bishop.
that sounded kind of racist.
It starts out as a stop that.
Just kidding. Sorry, I couldn't resist. It's all right.
It starts either on the dark squares or the light squares. You can't change it. It stays on its color. It moves in diagonals only. So a bishop is very true to itself. So I kind of identify with that. I have my setups, I have my plans, I have my strategy. I stick to it no matter what. You can't tell me otherwise. You might come up to me, well, this works better. I don't care. I have my set data sets. I have what I want to use and what works for me, and I'm going to stay on that diagonal. I'm not going to hop around and try to force things to work like a knight does. So yeah, I would definitely identify as a bishop. So I kind of like that.
Ace is definitely a queen.
I was just gonna say, I'm like, I feel like the straightforward answer would have to be a queen, just because of the multi-directionalness of it, right? Like,
Yeah.
having the ability to be able to pivot when you need to pivot,
Yeah.
being able to be all seeing and move wherever you want to move in that direction, and being able to reverse the play whenever you are wrong, so on and so forth, right? So
Yeah.
so that's what I was thinking of the whole time you were answering, but I love your answer.
Yeah, it's a fun question because every piece has their strength and weakness.
Right. Like, I definitely feel like
it's a hard
DJ is a
question.
pawn.
I'm definitely a pawn.
Straight.
I'm the king. I can only move. I can't move farther than one step ahead. But hey, I still
That's
rule
not
the
a bad
board.
thing.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? No, I'm just kidding.
And that's fair.
And you
I wanna
always have to be defended.
There you go.
King
Exactly.
safety is
There you go.
number one priority.
Yeah,
So.
I like that. I want to hear from our listeners. If you guys are watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or whatever, find somewhere, comment below what trading piece or what chess piece you feel like best represents you as a trader. I think that's an interesting question, a little thought experiment for people to go through.
Yeah.
But no, I'm probably definitely a pawn because I don't know what the heck I'm doing and I have no trading power at all. My superpower is just full porting, and losing and starting over again.
We'll get you
We'll
there.
get you there. Yeah.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
You're doing the mastermind with Ace, and yeah.
If I don't
we'll
get
you.
there, well, then I guess all bets are off, and we no longer have any reputability.
You can send me your trading plan.
There you go. Okay. That's fair. I feel so under attack on this chessboard right now, and I have no way to do anything because I wasn't paying attention, and I'm just not good at chess. But that's okay. All right. So, what are some of the cons of being a professional trader, doing this full time? How does it wear on you? Are there days that are harder? Kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, the mental aspect is definitely the hardest. It doesn't, there are days where it's just brutal, even weeks where you could just sit there and do everything that you have laid out and it will go wrong, and you have to understand that you're going to have bad weeks and you need to be ready for that, both mentally and financially, really, because sometimes it's not going to work. And you have to be okay with that, and you have to have some drawback to pick up the pieces. So yeah, that part can be tough. The other things, sometimes it's too much free time. So you're like, what am I doing? But if you're not actively engaging, make yourself busy, if that makes sense. So like maybe the market's not doing something, but there's something I can work on. I could review trades. I could go over my trading plan yet again, see if there's anything I need to revise. something in the market is always happening. If the market's quiet, you can go check out bonds, see what they're up to. You can go check out Forex if you're into that, or crypto. You can see what Bitcoin's up to. Something's always going on to keep you busy. So if you find yourself in a lull, just go look. You're not looking hard enough. Yeah, I don't think there's too many cons other than mainly stress. That's the biggest one for me, at least. Stress and keeping yourself sharp from a mental standpoint. Yeah, that's probably my biggest one there. Stress.
Yeah. Hey, so what about you? What's the hardest part about you being a full-time trader?
I mean, I gotta agree with Fuzz, right? That mental it really takes a toll, especially when, like Fuzz said, you could be following your trading plan to a T and everything is looking perfect in terms of your conviction. You have full confidence in your trade, and sometimes you're just going to lose. One of the biggest things that one of my professors actually said to me is trading technical analysis is like driving a car while looking in the rearview mirror. We're just making the best probability possible to see where the future can lay, right? We are not psychics. We cannot see and rub our magic 8 ball to tell what the future is going to show. But what we can do is make the best educated guess. So sometimes it happens where we steer off course, right? Because again, we're just taking the best probable cause that may happen. Another thing in terms of cons would just have to be noise. As being like a trader, especially in me and Fuzz's case, where we have a lot of voices in our ear at all times, it's inevitable where some people are going to have a lot of contradicting thoughts, right? Where it's like we're playing to the bullish side, as an example, and someone's like, this is going down, this is bearish, this is the reason why, blah, 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 blah. No matter what, I stay true to what my analysis shows, and I'll always play my chart to the way that my strategy works. However, that noise constantly in your ear, that constant bickering, especially if they are right, because again, it's inevitable. I am going to be wrong. I am going to take losing trades, but it's when like the person just rubs it in your face a little. But yeah, there's not much cons, man. I love the freedom, especially with time, to be able to just say, you know what, I'm not feeling it emotionally. I'm not in check. I'm going to take the day off. That to me is incredible. I love having that kind of freedom. Just being able to be like, you know what, I'm going to the gym during what I like to call the business hours. So as soon as it hits like lunchtime, there's no one in there. But I love hitting the gym at that time where it's just completely empty. So many pros to go through, not so many cons. I'm going to be honest. I love my job. I love what I do, and I'm going to continuously do it and try to bring the next generation of traders to the world who can see success within this space.
Yeah, that's a great point. Tuning out the noise is tricky, especially, sometimes you get conflicting data sets. Like you said, sometimes this is going up, that's going down. Bonds are going up, but Qs are going down. The ticks are stable, but, whatever, the SPY is going down, whatever. Some of it, too, is trying to not only cut out the noise, but also not to worry too much. Like, no one knows what rates are going to be. No one knows what the housing market's going to be in a few years. No one knows what's going to be going on overseas. You can't predict. Don't try to predict. You're going to get slapped in the face. The market's going to do whatever the market wants to do, regardless of what you think. You could think, well, there's conflict overseas. They're bombing, shipping lanes in the Red Sea or whatever. Who cares? The market doesn't seem to care. So
play it day by day and just see what the chart has to give you.
Yeah. I think it's definitely, it's got to be hard to, once you guys get to your level where you understand how so many things work, and you understand how, different things impact the stock market, how the stock market impacts the economy, how, all sorts of different things work. Like, I can imagine that gets hard to filter out and just stay true to what you do. So I guess my next question is, so what happens, you guys have both talked about how you stay true to your plan, you have to have your data, that says, okay, I've done this for this long and it works, it's true, like over time. Now, have either of you ever had to like backpedal on a strategy and change your strategy based on like either market conditions no longer agree with your strategy? Like, what did that process look like for you? How did you identify like, okay, this is no longer working, and how did you go about changing it rather than just, digging your heels in and being stubborn and not being able to admit that, okay, my strategy's not working right now?
That's such a good question. But yeah, obviously, so the market actually has market cycles, right? Whether we are in a recession, whether we're peaking, whether we're in a trough, so on and so forth, right? Whether we're in an expansion where we're actually in that growth phase. And then during that time, stocks actually cycle through. So whenever you see we're at our peak and we're starting to curl, you'll see tech start to take that first fall, right? So understanding where to pivot in terms of our market cycles is huge. During COVID, I actually spoke about this today in live trading. Is during COVID, I was able to play a lot of swings and naked swings at that case. However, intraday, you were not going to catch any movement because the institutional involvement will always happen after market or before the market, right? So you're getting those huge gap ups nonstop or those huge gap downs, but intraday, you would capture no movement. So the only way I was actually able to day trade was through playing spreads. And then that's where Fuzz actually stepped in and he started to chime in on that. But yeah, being able to pivot and understand that the market is going to vary, right? It's going to constantly keep changing, and being able to pivot your strategies to actually tune into what the market wants to give you is huge. Be adaptable.
Yeah, absolutely. COVID spoiled a lot of traders and a lot of the newcomers on the scene. Uh, buy the dip, buy the dip and let it rip. One of the key things that hit for me was the Fed pivot when we were going through that up channel and everything was just working. Uh, all of a sudden, now you're fighting against the Fed and you have quantitative tightening as opposed to quantitative easing. Rates were going up. The market was trying to figure that out. So from the VIX also was going up. That was a big player for me, the VIX going up and staying high. It wasn't just like, where it's at now, where it's low and it's staying low. The market has no fear right now. So the path of least resistance does seem, higher as of, the recording. So with the higher VIX, swing trades are harder. So you focus more in on fast trades, scalps. I had to pivot from less swings, or excuse me, from more swings to less swings to no swings at a good bit of time when we were headed on down because swings weren't working. Even if you try to grab puts, we'd have those big moves to the upside and you get stopped, and then you have to re-gauge, where things are at. Timing was very crucial. And it was just a headache to do swings. So you just switch that gear like, okay, swings aren't working. So I need to zoom into a faster time frame. The daily, the 4 hour, and the hourly, they're just too slow. And you'll pick that up with how fast the markets are moving intraday. You'll see that with the VIX and even the VIX, the volatility of volatility. Once that starts picking up, it's time to switch gears. And even as a more swing oriented person, you
Yeah.
you had to switch.
What now? Hold on, pause.
Wait a minute. You had to
swinging
change
over here.
focus. I had to
fit
learn.
in, and you'll fit in down here in Florida with the swingers. So.
Yeah, pineapples. You had to. I had to learn how to do more day trades, and I had to brush up on a skill set that I hadn't really mastered. And I had to, like, I was aware of opening range strategy. I had done it before. I was familiar with it, but I hadn't like really like grinded it out to where I was really comfortable with, and I had to, do that. So for me, that was a fun learning experience. I still much prefer swings over day trading. But if I have to day trade, I can and I will. So
again, I kind of
you have to
equate to
adapt,
yeah.
yeah.
It's what it all comes down to is adaptability, and
Yeah.
again from a business owner perspective, the same thing, where sometimes the things that have worked in the past with our business no longer work. The things that we try and they fail, or sometimes the market evolves, or what customers want evolves, or social media evolves, and marketing, all that kind of stuff. Things change. So I think humility is a important factor for traders as well, because you have to be able to take a step back, admit that you're wrong, admit that things aren't going your way right now, and admit that, okay, maybe it's time to take, a different approach, and to be okay with that. Because if you aren't okay with that, the market doesn't seem to care what you think and what strategy has worked for you in the past. The market's going to do, like you said, what it wants to do one way or the other. So it's best that you find ways to adapt and evolve around water. It's kind of like what, Bruce Lee's quote, what is it? I think, and check again. This is going great.
It's almost over.
Like be like water or whatever, where you kind of, you have to be fluid and stuff with the market and stuff. I think that's important. So, are there any things that are there any parts of your strategy that stay consistent no matter what the market conditions are, or is anything kind of up for changes?
What I use is what I use. You can use it for day trading. You can use it for swing trading. You just know what time frame you're going to use, or multiple. We preach multiple time frame analysis is the key. Have a large time frame, a medium time frame, and a short time frame to snipe your entries. So my data's, or my indicators that I use, the moving averages, the squeeze, and the stat thrust, they are all capable of doing whatever you need to do. So it can all translate over.
Here it is, I think.
Check.
Only.
You're almost done.
Oh,
You're almost dead.
I think I got one move that I can do, and that's it, right?
Resign is a move as well.
Oh, okay. I think we're going to just go ahead and resign here.
Okay.
Good game on that. Good game. That was ugly. But, hey, it is what it is. So, no, I think... So it sounds to me like there are core principles of your strategy, which we're going to get into in a follow-up episode. We're going to have you back and talk more, details on your strategy and kind of like how you trade, your process, all that kind of fun stuff on the next episode. But there are things that you don't waver on, and then there are things that, you'll kind of, that are, like you said, fluid and will change as the market evolves. And I think that's the same for you too, right, Ace?
Exactly.
Cool. So, Ace, do you have any other questions for Fuzz? For this
How are
episode?
you so handsome?
That's a good question.
Right?
I got it from my mama.
Nice. That's a perfect answer.
This hat over here is actually Fuzz's, and this is the kind of guy that Fuzz is. He would rock that hat. We put it up there. I'm gonna have you put it on for the end of the episode. We'll reveal the water bottle that's holding it up right now. Go ahead, throw it on. Let's let's show the people what Fuzz's brand is here, man. This is just good old country boy, who is just basically turned into a freaking killer trader. And
southern at heart.
There you go. That's the true Fuzz right there. I love it.
Oh yeah, he should have done the whole episode.
I know, right? That's badass. So, but no, thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, follow us. If you guys aren't already part of the Stock Dads community, you can get Ace and Fuzz's alerts and live trading every single day. These are two of the best in the business, and you guys can get learned from them and start to understand how they do things better. But we will have Fuzz back and talk more strategy next time. But this was the Stocks and Sandals podcast. We appreciate y'all. Good job, guys.